Shut up and sit down.
Hey, and welcome to the Freja MMA podcast, where it doesn't matter if you're a casual fan or a championship fighter. Join us in our discussion about the beautiful sport, which is mixed martial arts. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Freja MMA podcast. Today we are speaking with Sophie "No Joke" Luxton. We talk a bit about her MMA career and the amateur MMA scene in the UK, the pandemic situation, and also how it's affecting the MMA scene in the UK, and also her newfound faith in her religion, which is quite an interesting one and quite inspiring for all you young fans out there. So check out my interview with Sophie Luxton. Hello, Sophie. How are you?
I'm really good, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing well. Bit of a stressful day, but now I get to talk to such a guest like you, so I'm happy for that.
Thank you.
If you want to just start off by introducing yourself to the people that may not know you.
Yeah, of course. So my name's Sophie. I know few people listen from different countries, so I'm living in England, and I'm currently an amateur MMA fighter. I've been fighting for quite a few years now. Um, Obviously the lockdowns put us on hold a bit, so I haven't had a fight, I think, for almost a year now, but hopefully soon everything will be back open.
So the amateur scene in the UK seems a bit different to in Sweden. Is it fighting with shin guards, or is it just bigger gloves, or how does the system work there?
So in England for amateurs, it's bumper gloves. So like 6, 7 ounce gloves,
Mm-hmm.
and we don't wear shin guards. No head guards. I think in some of the European and Nordic countries, it's like shin guards and smaller gloves.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm right, you can correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, we wear bumpers, and that's it. Just bumpers and gum shields.
So you're from this new school, shall I say, that does have the amateur MMA rules. I know that a lot of countries that just go straight into pro as soon as they do MMA. Do you think that this is the right system to go through as a young fighter?
I think so, yes, because I think for two reasons maybe. One, that it gives you an opportunity to gain some experience before you're making money for it, and also to me, it's like if you go and work for a company on an internship, you build your experience, you build up your CV, and then maybe another company is gonna want to pay you some more money when you want an actual job. Um, so I think it helps people to almost build a name for themselves. So when it does come down to getting paid for it, they have an opportunity to make some more money. Um, yeah, and also I think it means that when you're fighting professionally and people are, maybe paying some more to watch you, the quality of fights is usually a bit higher. Um, if people have had some good experience already, then usually it allows the professional fights to be of a bit, a good caliber.
Yeah, I completely understand. I mean, especially like you're saying, it's a bit of a portfolio for someone that is going to
Yeah.
be doing like their pro debut. It's something that promoters can look back on the amateur career. Um, what do you feel about the people that just jump in straight into pro MMA then?
I think sometimes it depends on the person, I'm very lucky in that I started when I was young, so I've got a good opportunity to, not have to rush into being a professional fighter. Some people, maybe the time isn't on their side, um, and they just want to get stuck in. But I think it's better this way. You have to think, if you were going for a job interview and one person's got no experience and the other person's, you know, done this job like 10 times already successfully and has something to show for it, then they're probably going to get the job and earn more money. I think it's a good chance to, like I said, build your CV. You can have a good record and you can get some belts and things, it's something to try and use in your favor to get further as soon as you become professional.
So you said there that you started young. Is that in your MMA career, or did you do martial arts before this as well?
Not really. So I probably only did martial arts for like 1 year before I started MMA. Um, I was doing kickboxing just for like 1 year,
Mhm.
and then I wanted to just do everything. I think I had one kickboxing fight, and then yeah, I wanted to really do MMA after that. I think I had my first MMA fight. Maybe I was 15. I'm not too sure, or 16, and now I'm 22. So it's been a little while.
It's the dedication.
I keep thinking to myself, maybe I'll hold some kind of record for like the longest amateur career ever.
Oh, trust me, that you're nowhere near that. I think there's people that stay in in their amateur careers for a long time, especially that I've
Yeah,
heard a few stories that go around of like uh let's say Far Eastern European fighters that have big amateur records and then they go into pros,
yeah.
lose their first pro bout, and then go back into amateurs but in a different name. It's a bit of weird stuff like that.
Oh, I've never heard of that before, of people changing their name.
Yeah, it's a bit of a weird one.
Because I actually know a story of a lady who I've trained with, and basically she turned up to fight. You know, some of these amateur shows they can be a little bit sketchy, and she turned up to this amateur show, you know, with the intention of fighting as an amateur. And as she's walking out to the fight, they announced them as professional fighters.
Oh wow.
And so she was just like, "Well, I'm just gonna have to fight." So she did the fight, and then afterwards she was like, "I don't want to be professional. I want to keep fighting amateur." And they said, "Oh, you can't now. You've had a professional fight, so you can't go back."
You didn't realize from the gloves, maybe?
I don't know what happened, but I think she turned up on the day, and they said to her, "No, this is a professional fight." And in her head, I think she was just so wanting to fight that she didn't even think about it. And then afterwards, she realized after the fight that she has to stay professional now.
Where's this woman now? Hopefully she stayed in the pros.
I think she had a couple more fights, but I haven't seen her fight in a couple of years now, maybe 2 or 3 years. So I'm not too sure. Maybe she'll fight again. We'll see. But
So what can we expect from your MMA career in the future?
I mean, I'm not someone to hold great mystery to what I'm planning,
Mhm.
but I'm hoping. I mean, before all of this happened, I was looking to have maybe like one more amateur fight and then go professional. I mean, the plan is kind of similar. I'm not really sure what I don't know what's really going to happen when shows start opening again here, but hopefully I'll be able to get one or two fights and then I'm the thing is with me, you know, I'm not looking to pad my record before I go professional or anything. Like I've had 10 fights now and I don't really have any fights I'd like to rerun. And to be honest, at the moment, there's not many more people for me to fight in this country, I don't
Oh
think.
wow.
Um, like as you know, for women, unless I have some more fights international, I think as an amateur, there's not really too many more girls left because I have had 10 fights. So, you know, I want to have just one or two fights at strawweight again, just to practice the weight cut, get back in a swing of fight camps and, you know, almost like brush off the cobwebs for cutting weight and everything. And then I probably will like to go pro. Maybe it's going to be 2022 now. I mean, who knows when anything's going to change.
That's quite shocking that you say that there is like almost no one left to fight. I mean, you think of the UK as such a fighting nation and there being a lot of up and comers coming through. Is it a different story for the female scene there?
I think so. There is quite a few girls here, but the strange thing is what I've noticed at the moment. It's kind of like it's almost like two waves of females who are fighting. There's the girls who have been fighting quite a while and are maybe more experienced, and there's almost like this new wave of girls who are just starting out, and there's not really too much middle ground between them.
Hmm.
Um, and I'm not saying I won't be, up to fighting anyone, and I take any challenge, but I've fought a lot of the girls who are the more experienced ones now, and maybe there's one or two fights, I can think of out there still that would be interesting, but other than that, I'll probably be looking to fight some people from other countries.
Speaking of a bit of international amateur mixed martial arts, I'd like to get your opinion on the IMAF situation right now, because they are looking to only include amateur fighters that have gone through their own grading system. Have you heard anything about this?
I did hear about it. Maybe during the first lockdown, I think the news was starting to spread, and I'd heard about it. For me, I don't really like the idea of a MMA syllabus, um, because I don't. In some way, I feel like it's putting MMA into a box,
Hmm.
and I don't really feel like you can tick boxes for it, because the whole part of it is that people are supposed to bring their own styles. I mean, MMA was originally created to find the best martial art. I mean, you think of the first um, UFC fight
Hmm.
nights, it's just like kickboxer versus jujitsu guy. And I don't think you can really keep MMA in a box of what should or shouldn't be right, which I feel like a syllabus kind of does to an extent.
Hmm.
Um, it's interesting to see people who bring completely new things to it and different styles. So I'm not too keen on the idea of MMA syllabus. I'm not sure how you can grade it
Yeah,
really.
especially us as fans, you see MMA and you are kind of like, how do you grade this? How can someone become a black belt at mixed martial arts? Okay, it's not the belt or anything, but how can someone progress their level through grade for a grading system on such a freestyle sport? It is a bit confusing.
And also that, I mean, I graded in kickboxing. Um, I got my black belt, but I can't say that a lot of people who achieve their black belt will turn out to be great fighters.
Hmm.
Just because you can do all the moves doesn't mean that you're going to be any good under a fighting scenario. Um, I mean, there is other martial arts, for example, judo. There's two different boards, I believe, for judo, and for one of the grading boards, you have to compete. I think this is a better way to do it, um, if you're trying to produce fighters.
Hmm.
But again, I mean, when I was coming up through kickboxing, I could be an orange belt and sparring with brown belts and be able to hold my own just because I was good at fighting.
Hmm.
Maybe I wasn't technically as good, but I knew how to fight. Like, so I can't really say that I believe in the whole. Oh, I don't know how they plan to run the contest. Will they have like orange belts against orange belts?
Yeah, it seems a bit confusing. Hopefully, we'll get more clarification the closer it comes up to their competitions and things. So on the UK front, how is the mixed martial arts world looking right now?
I think people are trying to keep hope. Um, but anybody who's really serious about MMA and almost it's like a lifestyle, they rely on their fighting to, it's like people look forward to going on holiday twice a year. Fighters, we look forward to getting to fight. So I think some people are struggling a bit with the unknown of when they're going to get to fight next. Like, for some people, it's hard to work at something when you don't have something to work towards.
Hmm.
Obviously, there's the every day you're training, you're gaining like knowledge and ability, but you haven't got that event to kind of set your mind towards, or and it's also the fact that you don't know when you're going to do it again. I just really hope that no one kind of gets lost in this.
Mm.
I know a few months ago I was starting to get lost in it a bit, and I managed to just start to pull myself back on track in the last couple of months.
Is that just mentally from not being able to compete or not being able to go to your gym and get that release from what people do it for?
Mine was a whole range of things. Um, I mean, in the first lockdown, we all know it was summer, so it was easy kind of to train without the gym. You know, you could even go to your park and wrestle in the park and do your training in your garden and all types of things. Now, you know, we can run outside, we can do some shadow boxing, but you can't roll around on the floor
Mm.
or, you know, I mean, the last couple of weeks here it's been snowing and like -4 degrees. I tried to do a workout outside when it was snowing, and
Doesn't work.
I think I had a cold for about 2 days afterwards. So it's a bit harder this time, and also I've just been working a lot, and like I said, when I could train at home before, it was easy to kind of train around work,
Hmm.
but now I don't know. I'm hoping in the next few weeks we'll get some news about gyms being allowed to open.
Yeah, I mean, they come out with a rule about elite athletes and things. So I know that I've spoke to a lot of cage warriors fighters that have said that their gyms are staying open because of this. Uh,
Yeah, there's a few loopholes, I think. I mean, no one take my word on this. I'm
Not
not
mine either.
giving solid I'm not giving solid advice out, but um obviously I train with a few, you know, quite a few professional fighters and people on Cage Warriors and stuff, and they're allowed to train, but there's basically some catches and some loopholes. Basically, as a professional, to be allowed to train, you supposedly have to have a signed contract from you know, a show. Um, but there's also the loophole around being classed as an elite athlete. Um, I'm not too sure. I think, you know, I don't know how true everything is,
Yeah, it's a bit of a hard one
but
because even elite athletes, they need sparring partners. They need that group that surrounds them when going into a fight camp. So it's a bit of a difficult one, especially when it comes to combat sports.
I think there's some way that your gym can apply for you to be registered. I think it's with UK BJJ as an elite athlete, and then it basically allows you to train.
Hmm. But everyone
But
everyone
that's
Google
that.
it yourself.
Yes, don't take our advice. I just have heard, you know, it's difficult because everyone's kind of just, you know, it's the same with everything. Everybody just talks, and then it's Chinese whispers, isn't it?
Yeah, and especially with lockdowns, like that's what is happening in the UK. I had a previous guest who is a psychologist and very into MMA, and he was talking about the reasons why some people with mental struggles go into things like mixed martial arts and combat sports to get that, not only that release of endorphins and to kind of get through a everyday struggle, but to also have that camaraderie of being with a group and having a MMA family, shall I say. So sometimes I do feel for those kind of people that that was all taken away from them during this lockdown as well.
Yeah, I mean, before really the job I do now, I used to work in offices,
Hmm.
and to be honest, my training was my only kind of social um time I really got. And I think that's one reason why, to be honest, if I go to the gym and I look around, the majority of the people there, I would say, are quite introvert. And it's almost like their environment, they feel safe in it.
Hmm.
Um, so I think it is a worry that, some people, they can't really have that anymore. Like I said earlier, I really hope that anybody who was training and passionate about MMA before isn't lost at all in all of this, doesn't lose their heart for it, because I think it's become quite hard for some people to almost, especially like I've been training for so long, and the few months where I couldn't train, that's the longest I had off training in like 7, 8 years.
Hmm.
That's a few months. That was the longest I've ever had where I wasn't going to the gym. Um, and it's almost like you have to find what to do with your life again.
Mm.
It's like you have to find yourself again.
And like we say, it's not a hobby. It's a lifestyle, like you're saying. So
Yeah,
you do kind of start becoming the fighter that you are.
definitely.
So we'll go to a bit of a more uplifting thing out of it's come out of lockdown, but out of lockdown. Um, and well, first of all, I want to ask you about. I ask all of our guests about fight names. So how did you get your fight name? Which, if I'm not mistaken, is No Joke. Is that correct?
Yes.
How did that come about?
So, I was always, I still am a big believer that you shouldn't choose your own fight name, that fight names are almost
Mm-hmm.
given. Um, but basically how I got my fight name, and I'm just gonna say that I really hated it to start with. I was so embarrassed, and I didn't like it, and people just kept calling it me. But basically, uh, when I first started out fighting, I think maybe like 3 years in, I was struggling to get opponents to fight. I think it was because I was young.
Mm-hmm.
Also, there wasn't a lot of girls doing MMA. Um, and not a lot of girls who'd done it long enough that they wanted to fight. When I started just around the time of the whole Ronda Rousey era of her, and there wasn't very many women in the sport. But anyway, I was struggling to get matches, and one of my coaches actually, he used to run a show. He used to just come do a class once a week at our gym, but he used to run a show. Some people in the UK might have heard of it. It's called Fight Light, and then it was changed to Hybrid. But I couldn't get an opponent. He was trying for like a year to find me somebody to fight, and eventually this girl said, "Oh, I want to fight her," and she hadn't had a fight before or anything. And he basically said, "Yeah, I'm happy, to do the matchup, but Sophie, she's no joke. Like when it comes to fighting, she's no joke." And then after that, somebody else had said it. They were writing an article about a fight show, and they basically wrote about me and Sophie Luxton. She's no joke. Then my coach was like, "This is great. We have to have this as a fight name." I was like, "No, I hate it. It's embarrassing. I don't want it." And people always used to say to me, because I was so young as well, people I think used to underestimate me a little bit because I was just a little girl at the gym. And people would come to spar, and my coach would say to them, "Spar with her because she will hit you
She's
back."
no joke.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, and then I remember I had a fight, and was still when I hated the name, and the I don't know what's the MC, that was the right word, was Carsten. If you don't know if you know him
Doesn't ring a bell, but yeah.
in the UK, I think a lot of people know him. He used to MC a lot on Battle Arena. He came and he said to me, "So, am I saying your fight name or not?" And I said, "No, I don't want it. I'm too embarrassed." And one of my coaches actually went to him behind my back and said, "No, you're gonna say
Oh,
it."
okay.
And I remember walking out to the fight and hearing it, and like he said, Sophie, no joke, looks, and I was like, oh my goodness, no.
It wasn't one of those things where it gave you a bit more fire behind you because you're like, damn it. Like,
But no, after that, I embraced it a bit because people seem to like it. Um, and it wasn't really an embarrassing one. Some people, they have some really strange ones. I thought, no, this one's actually quite good. Um, and I embraced the fact that, you shouldn't choose your fight name. If everyone's calling it you and it's given to you, then you should just take
mm.
it. Um, but yeah, he's really happy. I mean, Carsten, he always says to me, he's the first person who got to say it.
So you haven't been starting to practice your no joke signatures yet.
No, I think most MMA fighters, obviously, majority of people, the vision is to get to UFC. And I think everyone has that the moment in their head where they imagine Bruce Buffer saying
Mm-hmm.
their name. Every time I watch UFC fight nights and he's announcing people, I think that's like that will be one of those full circle moments one day when Bruce Buffer says your name. You think, yeah, I've made it.
Yeah, going from not wanting to hear it to wanting at least one person to
Yeah.
say it, imagining it. But that's a great story there. I mean, the fans love the stories of where the fight names come from, and the funnier the better, I guess. So
Yeah, I love my favorite one. Just quickly, my favorite story behind a fight name. Um, I think it's Meatball
mhm.
Molly McCann, and including me, I always thought that people used to call her Meatball because she's like a big, strong girl,
And she worked in Subway, right?
and yeah, that was the story that basically she used to come to training every day smelling like meatball marinara from Subway. And that's why they call her Meatball.
Yeah, but it stuck.
Yeah.
So moving on from the fight talk, you were saying about the lockdowns in the UK and how much of a struggle they can be. But you kind of flipped it sideways and found faith through this lockdown, and that's in your religion. Can we talk a bit about that?
Yeah, of course. I wouldn't necessarily say it was the lockdown that helped me find it. I think I've spoke about this before, and it's that people only really noticed me finding, my new faith when I put the hijab on.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I was interested in it and almost learning about it and wanting to be part of it before that, but obviously, no, it's not really anyone's fault that they wouldn't
Mm.
notice, but it's just I only started to get all of the questions as soon as I put the hijab on, which, I don't mind people asking questions, it's fine. But yeah, it happened quite a while before that.
So, what do you say about the people that do have the questions, especially when it comes to you being a MMA athlete? Is there a lot of those kind of questions?
I've had a few people ask me, maybe they haven't seen me at the gym or something. They see me in the street and they say, "Oh, you've converted or reverted." And I say, "Yeah," and they say, "Oh, so you're not training anymore?" And I say, "No, I
Mm-hmm.
am." Um, there's this kind of confusion with a lot of people in terms of, Islam between religion and culture.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't say anywhere in the religion that you can't do martial arts, you can't, that the women can't do it or anything. Um, but it's a cultural thing for people from certain countries and things that it would be favorable for the women not to do something like that. But, it's not against the religion.
Yeah.
I think that's somewhere where the confusion lies. People think that if you're Muslim, you can't do it, but that's more of a cultural thing. Um, but yeah, I get a lot of questions. It doesn't really bother me too much. Majority of people, the questions are coming from a good
Mm-hmm.
place. and they're just generally interested or curious. Um, Obviously, I get some people who um, I would say, don't necessarily approve, but the way I see it is I didn't really ask them, so I didn't ask for their opinion, so it's kind of irrelevant to me.
Mm. Well, we spoke recently before, well, recently, maybe a month or so before this podcast about your Instagram followers dropping and things like that. And I feel like a lot of the time it's people that are just misinformed or find it confusing and don't want to maybe learn or accept something new. Um, so it's just a really old way of looking at things, like, oh, so that's different. I'm not doing that, or I'm not
Yeah.
into that. And it's a bit of a strange one. It happens a lot here, and I kind of see it a lot in my day-to-day life as well.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I was a bit confused. I was kind of shocked, to be honest. I imagined to lose some followers, but I was not necessarily upset for myself about it. I was more upset to think that there's so many people out there who um, aren't willing to be like open up to something before they make a decision on it,
Mm.
But that's down to them personally. And the way I see it is, that's not the type of people I would like to have following me or surround me anyway. So, I mean, I can always, I've had gained a lot of new followers and met a lot of new people online who see things in a similar way to I do. So that's a gain for me as well.
Yeah, that's
Although I've lost some people, I've gained some great people as well online.
yeah, and that's a great thing. I mean, the way that I see it is, you may be losing these so-called followers that aren't really, into what you're doing personally. But obviously, they may be fans of mixed martial arts. But then, you know, once you put the hijab on, or once you dye your hair blonde or change something, then they're out the door. Then that's not really a follower. But I'd like to think that especially with this kind of circumstances, you're inspiring a lot of people as well. I mean, there are a lot of Muslims in sport. We look at Habib Nurmagomedov, who is a he's known for his faith, and he's known for reciting things from the Quran. And it's not really the norm to see women in the sport that also follow the faith.
Yeah, that was something really important to me when obviously I'd researched the religion and learnt about it, in all different ways for quite a while. And when I really came to the conclusion that I really wanted to be part of it, it was a huge thing for me that I would never stop doing MMA.
Mm.
A lot of people had it in their head that if I converted, I couldn't do it anymore. Um, and, you know, I always said from the start, it's not something I will change. It's not against my religion, so it's not something I'm willing to give
Mm.
up. And it was also very important for me to keep doing it because I think there's a real um, lack of women in sports who are wearing a hijab or who are Muslim. You know, I've said this before. I would love someone to correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't really think there's many women at all, if any, competing at a high level of sport in a hijab. I would like to be corrected. Maybe um, there's a few boxers or something, but no one who is really posted all over the place. And
Uh,
I think
and this
that
is the thing
it's
as well, that I'm hoping, I'm probably you are also, that you're wrong. So if anyone knows any,
yeah,
comment down below on the video and we will read it. We will search them.
yes, please. I would love to find some women who, I think there's a lack of role models for Muslim girls in sports. And I think that's one reason why there's not many girls taking up sports still because there's no one for them to look at and see, oh, that I can do it because they're doing it. Um, so I would really love to find out if there's any women competing at a high level. I actually heard something quite interesting, um, of somebody who I I'm I wouldn't like to say that I think it's true, but apparently it's only allowed for women to compete at amateur level in a hijab.
Hmm.
Now, I think this stems from supposedly in the Olympics, women aren't allowed to compete in a hijab because it's a safety issue. But there's two problems, obviously, with that. One is that it's not really a safety issue for majority of
No.
sports.
Mm.
There's always ways you can find to work around it, but also the Olympics is just for amateurs. Anyway, you can't be a professional athlete and compete in the
Hmm.
Olympics. But supposedly, from somewhere, this idea has come about that women can't compete at a professional level and wear a hijab because someone basically turned around to me and said, "Oh, so you're going to fight in a hijab, but how are you going to get around the fact you're not allowed to be a professional in a hijab?"
Uh,
And I went away and researched it because I thought, I wonder where this has come from. Has this come from the sporting side or the religious side?
mhm.
And I couldn't find anything about it.
Yeah, that's a very strange one. I hope that as well, if anyone has the answer, put it
Yeah.
down there. Um, one thing I think about as well is from a entertainment and promotional standpoint. Um, I'm sure they do not want to have the burden of, let's say that there's a fight and there's a fighter that is wearing a hijab during a fight, and through the combat it actually gets taken off. Maybe they don't want, they're not really sure what to do at those kind of moments. Oh, have you?
Sorry, you just cut
Oh,
out a little bit
okay.
there.
Did
I
you hear the
heard the
question
first
or?
bit.
Okay.
I am assuming, yeah, I can assume the rest of the question. I did think about this because obviously, um, when I'm training, sometimes originally I was training in the night hijab, which is not built for combat sports.
No,
Um,
I've heard that
and it
too, by
was
the
a
way.
concern. It was a concern for me. It's okay, fine for boxing, stuff like this, but wrestling and jujitsu, I knew that I couldn't compete wearing that because obviously at training I can stop and say to my partner, just give me a minute,
Hmm.
or whatever. In a fight, I can't do that, and it's also, uh, I don't like to say distraction because I don't want to be negative towards it, but in a way, it's almost in the back of my mind a worry. I'm thinking about it,
Hmm.
and I don't want it to. Yeah, I want to be able to focus fully, if I'm fighting. But then the I posted them on my Instagram submission apparel. They contacted me and said they wanted to send me one of their um it's a hijab card, and actually it's so good, like I've been wearing it, and you know I maybe I'd still like one or two tweaks to make to it, but I think I would feel completely comfortable um in a fight.
Mm.
Um, and I don't think anyone I would fight would intentionally do something to distract me, or so
Yeah, no one will pull down your shorts in a fight, so no one.
yeah.
I'm sure it'd be a similar kind of thing.
But yeah, I can see why promotions might worry about it, but I won't be the first girl to compete in this country in MMA wearing a hijab. There was another girl, um, as an amateur, she was competing in a hijab, and she was actually working with this same company, and she was very good. Like, she had quite a few fights.
Hmm.
Um, and she was from London, and she was fighting MMA in a hijab, and I don't think she had any problems. So we'll just have to see. It's one of those things. I hope it's going to develop for the sport. The way I see it, it's only the same as when there was no women
Hmm.
fighting, and now, women are headlining shows across the world. So I think it's the more people learn about it, the more it will start to spread.
Yeah, I'm also hoping that things happen in wave forms. So first of all, females started to come into the martial arts, but they had one weight class. Then there started to become more weight classes and more females. Then they started to, like you say, headline shows and things like that. So I hope that the next wave is, shall I say, accepting all religions
Yeah.
when it comes to female martial arts. That would be great.
There's been a few people, not about the hijab, but just generally women um, of religion fighting. People say to me, "Oh, you can't fight, if you're a Muslim." And I said, "But you watch Habib every time he
Hmm.
fights," and they go, "Oh, yeah." And then they have the click in their head that, oh, it's not really, my problem isn't about Muslims, it's about female.
Hmm. I mean, there is still the people today that would say that they wouldn't want to watch female fights. It's just about getting over that boundary.
Yeah, for me though, those people, they're not fans of martial arts. They're just like blood. It's like blood sport to
Hmm.
them. um, but it's developing slowly. I mean, I remember when I first started fighting, they used to um they used to chuck me out at the beginning because no one had arrived yet, and they thought no one wants to watch the girl, so we'll just stick her on first.
Hmm.
And the audience was silent. I used to fight in silence.
That's crazy.
And now they're putting me on at the end because people want to watch me fight because the girls are just as entertaining as the guys, if not more.
But looking into the main eventers in female MMA, who is your um aspirations? Who inspires you from your sport?
There's there's people in who inspire me, who I followed from the very beginning. And then there's people who I can appreciate for their, serious skill. So my personal favorite fighter to watch, and I think I'm a bit of a fangirl, I've watched her from the beginning. I used to stay up all night and watch, all of that. I would only ever stay up for when she was fighting, and that's J-Check.
Hmm.
Um, I love her style of fighting so much. Like, to me, it's so entertaining. Um, I I just love her striking style, how she changes the dynamic of her shots. She'll hit fast and then just stop and nail you with one hard shot. Her volume of leg kicks, everything. I just love her style of striking so much, and her takedown defense. Um, and then the one fighter who I seriously respect for their skill in MMA, not just striking or anything, but mixed martial arts, and that's Shevchenko.
Hmm.
I think she's probably hands down with women, and people are gonna, all the guys are probably gonna pipe up now and say no, no, no. But I think she's seriously, across the board, one of the highest skill fighters in the world.
Hmm.
With the level of knowledge she has and skill and technique, she's one of the cleanest fighters.
I mean, when people are starting to say that she should fight Henry Cejudo, then the kind of question there is that, okay, maybe she is that good.
I mean, I will never agree with the women fighting the men, but I genuinely believe that she could take out skill on a skill
Hmm.
level majority of the men in the UFC. She's just almost, to me, as a mixed martial artist, she's almost mastered it, at being so good across every area.
And it's kind of funny that you said that you was a fan of Joanna Jacek, because doing my research for this interview, I was looking at a few of your fights, and I did write down Joanna style to the thing of, like, I can see from your fighting style that you are a fan of her.
Yeah, I think I picked up because I was watching her from the early part of my fighting, and I always naturally just picked up, people watch me fight and they think that I did kickboxing long before I did
Mm-hmm.
MMA, but I didn't. I mean, we're talking like 6 to 12 months I did kickboxing before I started everything. But I do believe most people, something comes to them more naturally,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's striking, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, something comes to them more naturally. And to me, striking for me is just it's easy for me, like all the dots just connect in my head, you know. And I'm not saying that I always say I'm good at everything. I feel strong in every area, but I feel like when I'm striking, it's like a chess match. I can see the next moves, and it's easy for me to focus. So I think that's why originally I loved Jacek. She was just smashing through the UFC with her striking, and I took a lot from her style because she had solid striking and solid takedown defense. And I thought to myself, I need to have this style. I know I can beat so many people on my feet. Um, I need to have this strong takedown defense. And to be honest, in the last year, I hardly even worked on my striking at all.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for my last fight, I hit pads once.
A lot of people.
I think
Sorry.
I think I sparred 3 times and hit pads once for my last fight.
A lot of people, you look at like Max Holloway now, that he's saying that he's not sparring at all. He's just doing like a lot of cardio things. It's maybe the same with you. It's all there in your head. You already know how to do the strikes. You already know the combinations that you're going to put together. So the rest is all cardio, really.
Yeah, obviously there's always gain to be made, but I just wanted to focus so much on my jujitsu and my wrestling. It's not that I'm not good in these areas. It's just I know for a fact when I fight someone, they are going to want to take me to where they think is my weakest
Mm-hmm.
area. So I'm always very aware that even though I'm strong in every area, um, people aren't going to want to keep me on my feet. And also, people haven't seen me fight a lot on the ground. So, like at the gym, it's different in fights and stuff. I can say with no ego that I haven't really shown all of my skills on the ground. I haven't shown like the skill set I have and the
Mm-hmm.
potential. And I could talk a lot about all the things that I think went wrong in different fights, but
But you have a
but
TKO
back
in ground and pound, so.
yes, I do. It's strange. Every fight is so different. And I remember that fight so vividly. It was like I was hungry for blood in that fight. I don't know what came over me, but you watch the fight and it's like you can see it in my face. It looks like I just really wanted to hurt somebody. I don't know what was wrong with me. Obviously, it worked because I won
Mm-hmm.
the fight, but I think I really had a fire behind me for that one. But yeah, back to the original point. I think in my early fighting, I picked up a lot of things from Jacek from watching her videos a
Mm-hmm.
lot. Um, but I watch a lot of people and I use the techniques to try and adapt my style. One thing I really try and drill from Shevchenko is when you watch her fight. I mean, if you listen to Cormier commentating her, he will say it over and over again. Her back heel never touches the
Mm-hmm.
floor. And he says she's like a coiled spring ready to unload all the
Yep.
time. Um, that's something I really, uh, in the last year trying to adapt into my style. But I think everyone's always watching people and trying to take their best skills and use them.
Yeah, definitely.
But I'm very happy that you said that you watched me and thought of
Yeah,
JJ.
take it. It's a compliment for sure. Okay, we'll start to bring it down a bit. I have two quite heavy questions now. So first one will be, what would you say to inspire the next generation of Muslim female sportsmen or sportswomen, shall I say?
Probably, I'm still learning myself about my religion. It's not, Islam, it's not really got a final destination. Even people who've been born into it, they're still learning more about their faith every day. Um, but one thing I can say is that you can't fit yourself into a box of something, even your religion. You can stay true to your faith and stay true to yourself. Um, there's nothing really in the religion that says that women can't, be great at anything. Women are really celebrated in it as well in the religion, and there's nothing stopping girls from doing it, sports or being involved. I think there's just been a lack of role models for them. But I'm hoping that in the next kind of 5 years, we'll see a shift like we did with women's MMA, where we see a bigger variety of women being involved in the sports. Um, yeah, I just think it's important for people to know that you can do anything, and as much as culture is important to a lot of people, culture is not a rule. Rule, then I am breaking a lot of rules because if you think about my culture, I'm following none of it, and I'm completely happy. So
You took my second question there. My second question was going to be, where do you see the Muslim female athletes in 5 years? But you already kind of said it. Hopefully, there'll be someone up there in the
yeah,
main.
I'm hoping that not. Yeah, well, I'm hoping that I will be up there in 5 years, but yeah, I'm hoping not just for MMA, really for everything, for sports, for every area of life. I think there's a real um, there's a real lack of strong Muslim women. There is obviously some, but not as many as we would like to see. And I think it derives a lot from old traditions of culture, of the expectations of Muslim women. And
Mm-hmm.
like I said, it's culture. Culture's not a rule. Um, and it's very hard for some people, I know, because their families, you know, want them to live their life in a certain way. But yeah, the best thing anyone can do for themselves is do what will make them happy. Um, and fingers crossed, in 5 years we will see a lot more women in the sport. I'm hoping I can do something. It would be enough for me to be able to get myself and get my platform, so that anyone, even if one girl joins a MMA class because she saw me fighting one day, then this will make me really happy. So
And I'm sure you will,
there's hope.
especially with platforms like this and the other podcasts that you've been doing. Your messages through social media, I'm sure that it will inspire a lot of people to, get through the fear of going to the MMA gym and actually trying something new.
I mean, I had one girl message me already. She was training, but in Islam, there's kind of like a bit of a crossover. The girls, when they're young, they won't wear a hijab, and when they get to a certain age, they kind of, if they choose to, you don't have to wear hijab, but if they choose to, they'll start wearing it. And this one girl, she'd kind of got to the age where she knew she wanted to wear it, and she had to start wearing it. And she said, um, I was training before at the gym, but I'm scared to go back to the gym with my hijab. And she said, and I listened to your podcast, and I'm going back. I'm going back. I'm going to the shop. I buy a new gym kit, and I'm ready. And that made me happy. It's just little things like that that make it worth it. It makes the losing the 500 followers in the street giving me funny looks. It makes it worth it just for even one person.
Well, there we go. I mean, like you said, you shouldn't stop being yourself just because of of the culture or the religion that you're choosing. Like yourself is the ground to everything really. Um, so this time on the podcast, we usually give the mic over to our guests to thank any friends, family, inspiring people, sponsors, or anything like that. So this will be your time to do so now.
Okay, no problem. The only real thanks I have, I want to say a thank you to people at the moment who've been following me online, including my family. A lot of people have been messaging me really supportive things on in response to some things I've posted online, and I'm really even just one person messaged me. I'm really grateful, that people are showing support towards something that is, it means a lot to me. Um, and also, I want to just one thank you to Submission Apparel, who I just recently got on board with, and they are such a great brand. Um, Really, I want everyone to go and check them out because they do a lot supporting, Muslim fighters, female fighters as well. They got a lot of athletes on their page, not just fighters, and they've really helped me out by sending me some stuff to train with. Yeah, and obviously, thank you to Freya MMA.
There you go. You got it right. You got it right.
Podcast. Yes, I had to think about it. Because I like to do this type of thing. I used to be nervous about it, but no, I think it's important to just speak some truth, and people get to know you a bit more. Even they don't. For some reason, people like to hear me ramble. So.
And as I've said, this is a platform for everyone to speak their mind. So I'm happy that you came on and informed us a bit more about you and your career.
Yeah, and if anybody does have any information on some of the stuff we talked about, I would be really grateful to hear about it. There's still a lot of things I'm learning about my faith, and there's so much I'm interested to know about, you know, people fighting and stuff. So if anyone has any thoughts on the things we asked about, then I would really like to know about them. Either if you just message us or comment.
Yeah, let me know too. I'm always willing to learn new things about this amazing sport. So thank you for your time for the podcast. I wish you the best of luck in your journey of discovery, and also I hope to see you back in action again very soon.
Yes, thank you so much for having
Thank
me.
you.